BC. And I think the reason we see BC a little.
I do dabble quite a bit in northern BC, which is that Peace Country, Fort St. John, Cecil Lake area. It's starting to find some interest now because land and everywhere else is starting to move in price. So that's still behind a little bit. What we found, the trend started showing later last year, but because Alberta land titles had a delay in their land titles office of about 6 months, it made it difficult for me even and everybody else that works in our location to find most recent sales. Because when I go into land titles, I say, okay, this piece of land changed hands. I can go into land titles usually, pull the purchase agreement, pull the title, see who owned it, who bought it, look at what it was sold for and everything else. So there's been a bit of a lag from last fall into this spring on recent sales. So it was more and more of mouth saying, okay, who did this, who did that? Who can I track down to get a copy of the purchase agreement because land titles are being way behind. I'm hoping they start to catch up, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen anytime soon. And you'll see land transfers 3-4 months behind still.
Is that at BC too as well?
BC, no. BC's clicks right along. BC is a little bit different. They go by PIDs, which is a parcel identification numbers. And so like in Alberta, we have a quarter section, a lot of it, or, you might have river lots, different things with a quarter section. In BC, with their PIDs, they can have odd numbers, odd sizes, everything else. So it's a little different. But so when over there, we look at land titles, but we also have to look at their PID, their tax roll assessment, which does a lot of a breakdown of the acres as well. And Saskatchewan the same way. They have what they call a SAMA. So you have your land titles and you have your SAMA. In Saskatchewan, what the SAMA is, it's the soil, and it breaks down the quality of soil, and then you do an average over the quality of soil. That's how they're taxed over there. So in Alberta, when I look at land, I look at cultivated acres, I look at pasture acres, I look at native pasture, wooded, and wooded part of cultivated. So if it's a small little piece of, half an acre in the middle of a cultivated field, it's still got a little higher value than a wooded lot.
So, and when you talk about your highs and lows, so when you talk about highs and lows, you just do it in that year?
Yes.
So do you do a 5-year average or 4-year, 3-year average or anything?
They look at it, but we don't do an average on the farmland value. So this report is basically everything that we found traded in 2022.
Okay, so it's the current.
Yeah.
So in 2022, when they go through, how do you know that those highs are not I mean, to say that I know drop the highs, drop the lows.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how you find mean. But I mean, at the end of the day, if the highs are actually where it's going to, how do you calculate that in 2023?
Well, what we do is we follow the trend. So we see markets, especially that Lacombe country, trending up. So we might say the average is 9,900, but I know a lot of this, CHL sales over there have been 12,000, 13,000 an acre. So we pay attention to that. So in June, we'll catch that. It's because we do it in January and we do it in June. So we do kind of a mid-market and we catch it. And so we kind of follow the trends. And the reason we really don't talk about the market trends, because we don't want to set the market.
Mhm.
So we're only, exactly. So we don't want to influence the market in any way, shape or form. So we stay out of the top of the market. And I do strictly values for security purposes. So like when they're lending money, 75% loan to value, we're never going to be the top of the market. It's just because of the risk factor. But in our farmland value report, we do acknowledge trends going forward. So if you read the notes stuff, it will say it's trending this way or trending that way. Like in southern Alberta, you see the irrigated land has increased 29% year over year. If you look at it, the 2021 report, when I was looking at it, they miscatched the trend. It was already starting to move up. So we revalued 2021, looking at the irrigated land saying, okay, and actually 2021, the last 4 or 5 months, the market started moving this way. And that was because of the potato contracts. Used to get a potato contract down there for $5,200 an acre. Potato contracts now are $52,000 an acre. So then that's pushed the market up. It continues to push the market up. In that. And then when you have the Southern St. Mary's Irrigation District coming out with, like in March, they had a lottery because they're going to put up another additional 80,000 acres of irrigated land. So that's taking the dry land market. It's going to push it up because they can buy irrigation rights to take that dry land. So we're aware of the trends, but we, like I said, we don't want to set the market saying, okay, this is where the market is now. We'll say this is where it's trending and this is what the current average is. We also drop off different sales like what we call non-arm's length sales and not of market value. So we flag those so we don't include those values in ours. Because if grandpa's selling grandson,
Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead.
Would that include kind of the urban sprawl effect or farmland not being sold and taken out of the ag market for industrial highway frontage, that sort of thing? Is that what you kind of?
What we look at that as not traditional agriculture buyers. So we look at it, but we don't put that into, because we are strictly ag lenders. So we look at strictly ag values. So we value that land as ag. So even though it might be a, Calgary urban area, we have lots around Calgary, smaller acres, different things like that. We know the sales, we've got them in our model, but we don't include those smaller tracts of land, or urban fringe is what they call them. We flag them and say, okay, this is the urban fringe. This is not typical of what really a producer's doing and buying. Like say, we do the same thing with non-arm's length with grandpa giving grandson a deal at half price. That could influence the market down. So we flag that, say, okay, we're aware of the sale, but we don't use it in our values.
Oh, that's fair enough, I guess. There has to be more grandpas, I think, giving land away if they're gonna make a go of it.
It's been interesting. I've seen quite a few non-arms farm length transactions. And what I'm finding is grandpa has been very kind to grandson or granddaughter, and they are actually selling them below market value. And then I see where the cousins or the kind of the extended family are buying, and they're saying, oh, I'm getting the deal. And we're looking at it going like, no, you're not. And which upsets them a little bit because they want to use land as security and they think they got equity in the land for their 25% down for lending. And we're going like, you haven't got that much equity because they're not really giving you a deal basis the market trends.
Question, pasture land,
Yes.
and then if you rip it up, then it's worth another $200-300. So when I go to get rid of my pasture, I guess I just bring it in, run a disc over and put a pro-till on it, and then it's worth $200 an acre more.
So what we do is,
That's not really.
that's not realistic. So what we do, last 2 years, they've actually broke out pasture land from farmland values, and they've done a separate little and created benchmarks for that. So we're trending and following pasture land separately. And what we look at is what I look at, I'm going like best use for the land. So if you're saying it's pasture land, it's undulating, it's got a lot of potholes, it's class 5 soil. Yeah, in a good year when canola is $20 a bushel, you might cultivate it under. Typically that land should stay under a permanent pasture or permanent grass. And we look at that. So we always look at best use for the land and the quality of the land.
I was wondering with the general trend of moving upward 10 to 11% for the value of the land, for land value. So how does that translate into rent? Does the rent follow that the same, or is it hinged more on the commodity prices?
And do you do a rent market analysis?
We do a rent market analysis, and the way I do a rent market analysis is I talk to all the RMs, which are the relationship managers in the lending offices, and I say, talk to your customers, find out what they're paying for land rent. So what I've been finding and trending and stuff, you got some long-term producers that have got some very good rental rates, and then you got some young guys stepping in, or you got some aggressive farmers paying some astronomical pricing. And it's mostly related to the commodity pricing, not farmland values. Because the people that are usually renting the land are, third and fourth generation farmers that aren't farming anymore, grandpa and grandmas, or old elderly people that are still holding the land, and they're just renting it out to maintain their status because of capital gains or whatever they want to do.
So could you share that report with Quentin?
Yeah, it's coming out. It should be coming out here shortly.
Okay, because that,
When would it be out? Like what date?
I believe it's supposed to be out in the beginning of June. Now, if you go
that was
into,
one of our biggest, this is how that come around, because the Ag Info Center was shut down and they're not necessarily doing one for here. So it's that downloading that I think is gonna be coming to our Ag Service Board. I don't know if you've got many calls yet, but, the fact that they just don't have anybody doing it now. So,
Exactly. Like in this area, I've seen some long-term people that have rented 15, 20 years. Their contracts are more verbal contract. They're $55 to $60 an acre. Then I find over in the Panoka country again, because of the supply managed people needing land to put manure and all that kind of stuff, up to $130 an acre. It's insane. So it all depends on the area. Most places I find is anywhere from $75 to $100.
So, well, and that begs my question now, like, honestly, do you think it is putting manure on? Because at the end of the day, with the fertilizer cost as high as it has been, or is, I mean, wouldn't the average farmer, be begging you to put fertilizer on my land? I mean, if I'm gonna do that?
You would think so, but what happens is if you look at that area, all the supply managed farms are in a very small cluster. You get a little, 10, 12 miles north of it, price of the land drops and everything else. And what happens is it costs to move the product. So if you're suddenly 5 or 10 miles away, the cost goes up and it's not beneficial for the producer to sell it to you or move it to your farm. So they're always look at it, go like, if there's something within that section and it comes up for sale, they're going to try and buy it no matter what. And that's why we start seeing these prices, $10, $12, $13,000 an acre. You're going like, it's class 3 soil over there. It's kind of undulating. What are you going to do? Well, they can only put so much manure management on the land that they got. So they got to find some place. And it's because it's close, it's more cost effective for them to move it over there and then try and sell it or try and move it. And with the new regulations and stuff, when you're applying manure, you have to incorporate it within 24 hours. You got to do this, you got to do that. So, they're responsible if they're putting it on somebody else's land to make sure that person that they're giving it to or selling it to, whatever they're doing with it, is following the regulations. Otherwise, they're the ones that get in trouble. So it's easier for them to say, I'm buying this piece of land and I just throw it out there, send my hired hand out there and heavy harrow it in and call it good.
Question though, it takes a while for the natural manure to break down and do any good at all. And if you put on, like if you buy your fertilizer, like I think everybody does in the fall, it was $800 a ton. I got suckered last year and had to buy it in the spring at $1,300. But at $800 and you put it with them openers and stuff, you put it right there so the seed, it's not scattered in between the seed rows, it's right on the seed. So if you put on 100 or 200 pounds, it goes directly to the plant.
Definitely. Your seedbed utilization on fertilizer, place fertilizer in the seed row is a way better. And again, when you get into manure management and things like that, and when you're in chicken manure, you got phosphate. So you have a possibility of phosphate toxicity if you're not careful. And then, when you're also looking at it, you're going like, it depends on when they're cleaning out their pits, their slurry pits, when they can, to make that product available for the farmer. Again, if you're a large grain producer, waiting for a guy to put some manure on your piece of land becomes almost secondary to getting it done on time and knowing what the actual nutrients are because they have to do all the nutrient testing and things like that. And you got your rates per acre. And like you say, again, it becomes available. So a lot of it depends on the carbon to nitrogen ratio. When you're breaking down the straw, if you got lots of straw on that land that you're applying the manure, that manure is going to make more utilization on breaking down the carbon on the straw than it is to be available to the plant. It may not be available to halfway through the year or next year. Exactly. So then you're risking your quality of crop when you're at 20 acre or $20 bushel canola. You don't want to risk when that release is coming.
It's 18 now.
Yeah, it's 15, I heard.
Yeah.
And just,
It's funny when you can't move it out of the country.
It still had dropped to 18 before and everybody was glad to get to 18 but in the fall they could have got close to 21. Wow, that's going to go to 25.
Yeah, I think everybody understood that every market was looking at it going, we're going to have an issue of moving this grain, so the price started going
you
down.
could have hedged your new crop for November delivery for still at 21 if you were smart and quick.
I have the liquid out of a cow barn. We have one south of town here, or the liquid out of a pig barn versus feedlot break down, the feedlot stuff, it takes a while for it to break down. And they're injecting, are supposed to be injecting the liquid, what benefit? How does that work? If the cost is the same, let's say the cost is the same to put it on, which one gives you most bang for the buck?
Again, it depends on if you're putting it on, if you're putting it on black soil or if you're putting it on or high residue soil. And it also depends on the dry matter. So you're looking at, you know, if you're bringing it out of
I'm putting it
feedlot,
on sandy soil.
sandy soil.
Black sand.
Well, again,
So
it depends on the,
to absorb it. That part's there, but I just wondered what would be, what would you get the most?
I think Clint does mostly land value. That
I
might
do
be an
like,
option.
I'm relying on my agronomy background that I did for 20 years before I became an FCC guy. But I agree with you. A lot of it depends on the dry matter of the manure and the soil take you put on. You put it on a sandy soil. And if you go to a feedlot, you're going to have a lot drier matter than if you're taking it out of a slurry tank. That's the liquid and it's going to leach a lot quicker. But the thing is, if you're throwing it on top and it's a lot of clumps of cow manure and stuff, you're going to get some volatilization at the same time. So then I always look at it, when I was doing that back in my lifetime before FCC farmland values, I always looked at it, probably 30 to 40% of action, what your test is what you're actually going to get out of it by the time everything's
That's what I
done.
thought. Thank you.
So this report is open to anybody?
Yes, I was gonna say, so you can go on the FCC webpage, and if you go into farmland values, it'll show you, it'll actually have the history of 1985, all the way up to 2022, as well as it will have the pasture rates there. It'll have the rental rates coming up. It'll all be there, and it's always available. So like when producers phone and ask, what's my land worth? All I do is direct them to our website and say, well, you can look at here, and it'll give you a basic idea. But we can't influence the market, so I can't tell them what it's actually worth that area.
So what about in that rental, it'll do central Alberta, but it won't necessarily do directly the county of Stettler. So you'll be able to get a general idea, excuse me, in the central area, but not necessarily what the county of Stettler is doing.
Exactly. And when you're looking at rental rates, of course, on the west side of number 2, it's mostly cattle and stuff like that. So the rental rates are going to be more affected by everything on the east side of number 2.
Interesting.
So now you've probably seen the trends for a number of years here. Do you think that land values will top out, or is there such a thing as topping out?
Here's
I wish I
your
had a crystal
predictor.
ball. I really do.
That's a good question. As long as, the problem is like the old adage is that they're not making more land.
Right?
And so then with urban sprawl and everybody wanting that lifestyle, I see more of a trend of the farmers having part of the quarter and then an acreage off for all these other people, which will automatically drive up the land and the competition. So,
And a new source of competition is the solar projects. They're taking land out.
Making good farmland out of it.
now when we look at solar projects, and I value solar projects, if I get a piece of land and they're putting a solar project on it, I value it at 0. It's not agricultural use, it's commercial use as far as we're concerned. We're saying it's not worth it.
Can you state that again, just so that we have that for the record? And I not to put you on the spot.
Yeah,
that-
no,
I we don't believe you,
That's
but
good information for us.
So when we look at different things, so if we look at a windmill on it, windmills takes up, they take up a small area, and most of the disturbance clauses and stuff on windmills say if when they remove it, they have to remove all cement down to below 4 feet. All the disturbance clauses and everything I've seen on solar panels, it's not for agriculture use. We look at it as a 0 value for agriculture use because it's commercial. So if somebody says, I got a piece of land, I've had some land, I've looked at the contracts over in the Hannah country, and the guy's going like, he's getting massive dollars per acre for the next 20 years. And we're going like, we can't take it for security because when that leaves, they take the panels, you got all this infrastructure there. You can maybe run sheep, most likely you can't. When they take a charge against that land, solar power company, they take it corner to corner. And so then they ask for us to be in second position and all that kind of stuff. We look at it, as soon as you become solar panel, you become a commercial project. We're not interested. You're not producing any egg products
So
whatsoever.
that's an interesting point that we have to take note of, because
We got 'em
we have a
coming.
couple of those, and you said corner to corner and they take charge of it. So you as a lender, so what we're trying to do is we want to inform our ratepayers to the best of our ability. So that is great information. I'm very glad you came in today, because that is something that's very good information.
Go ahead, Glenn.
Bit of a follow-up then. I purchased the Southwest at gate. I used you as a lender. Then the solar panels come on.
Yeah.
My mortgage,
See, what happens with them is because they want to put solar panels on, and they come to you and say, okay, here's the contract, you're going like $1,100 an acre, sign me up. Then they come to us and say, okay, they want to put their charge against it. They want us to be in second place. Everyone I've seen said the lenders have to be in second place. No lender wants to be in second place. You come to us and we have a mortgage on, we say, you got to pay us up. Go find somebody else.
the mortgage would be at risk then if I'm lending through, if you're lending me.
We won't sign off on that agreement saying that they can go into first place, or we allow them to do that to our security.
But not necessarily with the banks do. I
The
don't.
banks are also a little leery about it
Okay.
because again, it's such a new industry.
Yeah.
When I worked for one of the big fives before I come to FCC, we were always, that was 5-7 years ago. They were still worried about it at that time as well. We were looking at it, and at that time, I used to take contracts and send it to the legal department of the big banks and say, hey, look at this. What is your feeling? So
That's.
FCC being an agriculture only lender, it's not an agriculture business.
So that being questioned here, North American Lamb Co. went under, of course. Are you guys lending on sheep production? So here's what I was told, that one of the big five, the day after that happened, by a very valuable source, the individual was a sheep farmer, also one of their major lenders in central Alberta. He was a district lender. Told me that their bank sent out an email the next day and said zero lending to sheep operation.
If it's an agriculture industry, like we have a commercial side of agriculture. So, in the processing plants, seed cleaning plants, all that, we lend on that. But it's a primary ag producer, that our mandate is we will lend to them.
Okay.
I'm aware of the sheep producers. I'm aware of the sheep plant, the slaughter plant. I'm aware of the feedlots. I can't tell you how and why, but I am aware of it all. And
I got a little bit of an idea what.
And I do know that we still have sheep producers that come in and they want to buy products or do improvements in infrastructure. We have no problem.
You can buy tractors, balers, or whatever through you guys anyhow, right?
Yeah, we treat them as all ag producers. You look at them as the risk, the pricing is based on risk, and you also look at security. So, a tractor is a movable product, or cattle. We still lend on it all. It just all depends on how you structure the loan. My years before as apartment values, I did all that kind of lending, and it's got an ag influence. Yeah, we're interested for sure.
So if they put in the solar panel and the solar company says, you can run sheep in there and you can do this and you can do that, and it sterilizes the ground underneath there so sheep don't have enough to eat, but will you lend on?
We'll lend on the sheep farm, but we won't use that land as security. You have to give us something else.
What I wanted to know, thank you.
Well, if they got a sheep,
On the security, doesn't matter whether you were thinking of running cattle or sheep.
But it wouldn't matter,
Or
so
whatever.
exactly.
or horses or whatever, where they were high enough up in the ground. We were talking about sheep, so I went with sheep.
Yeah, most of the
Under the panels.
contracts I've seen, they do, actually, the last 4 I've seen didn't let any livestock on. The ones before that allowed sheep on, and only for a certain time. But we won't lend on that land. So if you're a sheep producer, we're not going to take that land. That's solar panels. That's
You have
security.
to have your own land or,
That's something else.
Yes. Okay. Interesting. Any more questions?
Well, that's very good information.
Thank you for
No
that.
problem. Quentin's got my contacts. If you need anything else, give me a shout, but I appreciate the time.
Oh, we appreciate you coming up. Thank you.
And can I get your card?
I haven't got a card, but on the back of the pamphlet, it's got my name because I'm the Alberta rep.
Just so if anybody at the table here, or the board members themselves, or whatever, we can, when you ask, that would be great. That's no problem, eh?
No problem. Give me a shout. I'm always available.
Thank you.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thanks a lot.
Have a good day. That river's not here?
Not yet, they're not on till 11:30.
Carry on.
Did you want to go in camera? Will you have a chance then?
Oh, could do, sure. Close the doors and wait it go. Oh, we need a mover.
I'll give you a motion to go in camera.
James is motion. All in favor? Carry. Thanks, Glenn. That river's not here. I'll carry on down. You might as well give your report. Go ahead, Glenn.
All right, so rodent control. Again, I've reported this in the past. We have 3 products: Rosol, Ground Force, and Ramic Green. I'm carrying Rosol in 2 sizes, a 9-kilogram pail and a 22-kilogram bag. And then Ground Force and Ramic are also in 9 or 10-kilogram pails, all for sale at the shop. Rosol, the 9-kilogram pail is $130. The 22-kilogram bag is $240. Ground Force in a 10-kilogram bag is $122. And Ramic Green 10-kilogram bag pail is $102.
They're all multi-feed.
They're all, yeah, a multi-feed bait. They're all the same kind of bait, different active ingredient, but they're all a multi-feed bait. Yeah.
Go ahead, James.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. So I'm just wondering, I happened, and I can't remember if I saw it in the paper or somewhere else, but there was an advertisement for somebody doing rodent control. I can't remember where I actually saw it. And I don't know if they're using traps or if they're shooting them or what they're doing. Do we have a number of those around, people that are willing to do that? So if you had a somewhere that had gophers that you wanted to dispose of but didn't have the time or the means to do so, do we have a number of people that would do that?
I have no list like that.
Should we try and compile a list and ask if there's somebody out there? Like,
We can. Like,
I-
who's interested in trapping, baiting, shooting,
yeah.
kind of figure something out.
It'd be good because I think as we go to that, maybe the more urban type settings where these gophers, I mean, if a gopher gets into a small pasture and you're not somebody that is a farmer, somebody that's dealt with gophers on the past, maybe it's not in your preview to deal with it, right? I don't know how many acreage owners would even have a 22 to plunk a few of these things, right? I don't know if they have the means wherewithal to understand how to trap. So I'm just wondering if we had somebody, I mean, that back in the day, you used to have the kids who paid them a little bit of tail or a couple of,
So much to do.
you know, and that was a little bit of fun, a little bit of money for them. But, yeah, just a thought.
You might have saw it on Facebook. Flagstaff County is selling Rokon and Rokon, the product, as well as applicators. I can't remember the price, but they're selling you the tank, the nozzle, the pump, soap, the funnels as a package for rodent control, and they're selling traps. Maybe that's where you saw it. I'm not sure, but we can come up with some sort of a list of those willing to trap and or shoot. And have that available at the shop. It's I mean, logistics to it, but
Liability, the one on the trapping and the shooting.
That's
Who you
again,
advertise
just,
for. Huh?
just an act, this guy might do it for you, give him a call kind of thing. I don't necessarily, we don't endorse or do anything. We just said, here's some numbers that you could call and try
If
between
they
you.
want to get rid of gophers.
Yeah, the one thing,
I wouldn't put shooting or trapping on there.
disposal, however they do it.
Disposing of gophers, yeah.
I tend to agree with Dave on this one because for us to have a list of people that are certified when it comes to commercial sprayers, there is a certification, qualifications. I don't want to open this up to anyone that raises their hand and make it appear that we're vouching for them. So I
I
would,
think you put that disclaimer on there that this isn't, my question is, what about the poisoning aspect of it? So, are there certified poisoners? Like, I know I can buy this stuff and I can put it on my own property, but if I'm gonna go in and Dave phones me up and says, hey, James, I can't do it this year, would you come and, poison my gophers for me on my quarter? Is there some sort of rule regulation on that?
Yeah, you have to be a certified rodenticide applicator.
Say that again in English?
It's the same process for me to.
You've been hanging out with Joe too long.
Same process as they have for spraying,
Yeah,
same thing.
just that you test for rodenticides or insecticides.
Or it has to be a bona fide
Is there
trapper.
anybody in the county that
A
does
bunch of garbage, but.
I don't know.
Is there a provincial list for that?
Well, Lakeland College is where you would go to get that certification. Whether I can, because that'd be a FOIP thing to get those names from them, might be an issue, but that's where I would start is Lakeland College.
Or could we put it out and ask if anybody in our area is a rodenticide?
Certified.
Rodenticide.
Okay. We can,
Oh, dentist, though, you're taking your teeth out.
we'll work with Nikki and we'll figure something out.
If we can be of service to our ratepayers in the fact of getting this information to them, I think we can be that liaison. And I agree with you about the whole protection thing, but when do we become that people that just, if I put my, phone Dave, Dave knows somebody. Am I responsible for Dave screwing up? I'm at McDonald's and somebody comes, hey, anybody that likes to shoot gophers? Yeah, Dave's got a bunch of guys that he knows. Give Dave a call. And Dave screws up. Am I now responsible because I put Dave's name forward? I get it. I totally get it. But we can be so scared of our shadow that we forget to be a community anymore. So I don't know. I just think if we had a name up there that somebody phoned Quentin and said, hey, anybody that could, pocket a few gophers for me? Yeah, give this guy a call. I think he can do it, or give this guy a call. Maybe they're busy. And if they don't, they'll know maybe somebody that could do it for you. Being the neighbor doesn't give us liability, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. I'll get off my soapbox.
Okay, you're off? Okay, good. Go ahead, Gwen.
Under administration, we've been hosting a few events, workshops, and I have more arranged for summer and fall. Shell's Belt workshop, we actually canceled that one. There was only 5 registered attendees. But I did open it up to those people who registered if they wanted to come in, do a one-on-one. I would kind of work them through a few things, scenarios on where we would plant trees, what kind of trees, that sort of thing. So I did have a couple take me up on that. Working water well workshop at Linda Hall, with 9 people attend on April 12th. Some good information came out of that. April 13 was the community engagement event in Big Valley, which hooked me up on 70 plus grain bags to roll. So that's kind of taken off. Dugout water quality workshop, looking at a July date. Estate planning is a fall date. Haven't got a date yet, still working on a price for the speaker. Sewer septic awareness, we're going to do during the sewer septic awareness week, in October. Beekeeping, she got kind of busy opening her second store, so we're still trying to work that out. Was suggested to do a horticulture tour this summer, so I'm going to try and put something together there.
Just 2 minutes back to beekeeping.
Yeah.
There's a program at Urban Beekeepers out of Calgary that I think they'll even help finance you. Are you aware of that? Okay, is that who we're doing it through?
No, I was using a lady out of Nana.
Okay. Because
I was basing a more rural.
yeah,
But these
these guys are doing small beekeeping stuff, not like the commercial kind of end of things.
And that's what this lady was, but not urban.
Okay.
Like urban is
Yeah.
In my place in town, in my backyard, I've got 35 bees in
Yeah, I
live.
think their program was a little bit more of, we'll set it up just about anywhere and try and not necessarily commercialize it, right? So, but
Be My Honey. That's the name of the company
no,
out of
that's
Newfoundland.
fair enough. I just was seeing.
So you already got that handled.
Yeah, if you need,
The dates, but
if there's somebody else though, that other group might be, they're not-for-profit group that might be able to help you out as too, right? That,
that actually might be the group we had out when we did a joint effort with Egg Society in 2014. I think that's who we used. So they came out, you built a little half a shoebox style beehive, and you learned how to cultivate your bees, where to buy a few bees to get started, and then take it home.
the other one, DNA Gardens, just out there, they're another ones that you might be interested in contacting, a little closer, and they do a whole bee program. They actually do both a bee and a bat program, which is very cool. So just a couple other thoughts on that too. Hey,
And
ecologically friendly. I like bats. I hate mosquitoes.
Next time we breed knocks one out, I'll bring him over.
Absolutely. I'll take them. I'll hang them up my tree. Let them live.
otherwise, staff's been kept busy just helping out Public Works with brush removal, some other small jobs. I'm the second vice president for the Association of Alberta Agricultural Fieldmen. So we've had a few executive meetings, and with that role, I'm on a couple of committees. So I've had a few meetings with communications and the education committee, just getting some things rolling for our association. And then I spent some time assisting with the cleanup of Bymore Fire Hall and Denelda Fire Hall. And council approved a purchase for a Freightliner and Big Class Series cab and chassis for a spray truck. Arrival is 62 weeks out. And that's a picture of what the truck would look like. The rest of my document went blank, so you have to scroll down for me, Michelle. Like that part. Egg Service Board bursaries, I actually have 5 or 6, not 3. There was more found in the safe, so Mr. McKay and I have to make a date to sit down and look through some bursaries and recommend a recipient.
Go ahead, James.
So, Quentin, you talked about your workshops after speaking with our presenter earlier this morning. The manure incorporation rules, is that something that we should maybe do a workshop so our farmer friends know what the actual rules are? Because we seem to get a number of complaints every year go forward, at least I do. And I'm not 100% sure that it's, maybe there's just, they don't know, or I don't know whether they don't know or they don't give a shoot in that case, but where it seems to me the farmer, once he's notified, okay, yeah, I'll do it, right? Whatever the case may be. It almost seems like it's a little bit of lack of education. So that could also be a little bit of, oh, I didn't know, I'll fix it now kind of thing, when they actually did know. So, but also for our non-farming ratepayers, so they know the rules, that they're not phoning and saying, they're applying manure and it's, you got to give them some time to do it, right, and get it incorporated. So is there
We could put together a fertilizer and amendments workshop and talk about pros and cons of solid manures, liquid manures, applications, rules behind that and how they should be incorporated, the pros and cons of fertilizer versus manure.
What does everybody else think? What do you, I don't know. I just know pretty much every year I get about 3 phone calls, and it seems to be different operators that I get it from. So, be nice to let the general public, even if it's just a printed or some sort of a fact sheet in the connections. I don't know.
I like the fact sheet thing because if we call one, nobody will come until it affects them. If it affects them that day, they come.
Yeah, you might be right.
Or Justin?
I don't think a workshop would be very effective in informing the public, because if you're not one of the people that use this method, if you're just an acreage owner or general public, you're not going to a workshop because it won't affect you in theory, other than maybe the neighbor does.
Spread on your wife's lawn.
Well, I tell you what, I would imagine there is in your area, Mr. Stevens, if you did a workshop on manure management and the rules and regulations behind it, and that was how it was put out, in about 3-4 weeks, you're probably going to have a lot of people interested in it. And then come fall, and then 3 or 4 weeks, there'll be a lot of people interested in it.
I know that people would want the information. I question how many general public that don't participate in these methods would go to a workshop.
With you on that,
Yeah, no, I don't, I'm just proposing, I'm just thinking out loud. I'm not saying that needs to be there. But I think we need to do a little bit better job of somehow informing the general public what the rules and regulations are, and what can and can't happen.
We can do a, did you know fact sheet, and put it on Facebook, and maybe for like the October county connections might hit a good time of year. People start to think about manure applications.
Well,
It's too late for this year, right? Like the window of manure application is now.
I think they're doing it right now, and I think if you put it out now and in October, the reason I say now is because the guys are going hard. The manure spreaders are going hard right now till for another 3 weeks, they're going to put it on before the crops get in.
That's why I say like county connections, the next one is June and then October, right? So I've missed the county connections to put something, but I can figure out some sort of a
Sure.
sort of a small article for Facebook or something.
There's never too much information.
that's your report?
I think so. Is there any more below that? No.
Yes.
I'll move the administration report be received.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Carried. Moving along. Mr. Nyberg.
That's it.
I think you've had that answered, eh?
That was good. Thank you.
We'll just receive that for information.
Beaumont for bringing FCC in. That worked out really well. It was great information, actually.
Receive it for information, eh? Or James?
Well,
James Welter?
I don't think there's nothing to receive for information.
Well, it's on the,
That's just done.
it's here.
It was done with his, and we received the
We received his deal, we didn't receive that. Everyone, don't matter to me.
what information are we receiving?
We received a file information this morning off the other guy about the same subject.
Did we do that? Received his FCSS report? Oh, maybe we- Okay. Whatever you want to do, Mr. Chairman, I don't really.
Oh, I don't matter. I don't care, just we've dealt with it, it's done, and Justin, you would move it, would you please? And then we can move on.
All right.
Receive for information.
Okay.
All in favor, carried, moving on. Business arising from the minutes, it's none. New business, give it back to Quentin, and away we go on, requests for decision on policy vegetation control on page 10.
Chairman, here's the request for decision for vegetation control. This is to establish criteria to control legislative identified priority alien invasive species, hazardous plant growth, and brush in the county. Generally speaking, this is for weed control, brush control.
Questions on it? Need a mover, Paul?
Yeah, I'll do so.
Any other discussion? All in favor? Carried. Page 15, club root, control of club root disease.
Okay, this is my annual request for decision to approve my, well, I guess recommend to council to approve my control of club root policy. This is what gives the county some bindings to do random inspections and issue notices under the Agricultural Pest Act.
What if we didn't pass this? What would happen?
Passed in 2023.
And what would then happen? Would we just not worry about it?
Oh, I think we should probably keep it on the radar, but
I don't know.
No, but I mean, as far as
I've never been asked that question before.
if the Pest Act, if we didn't do it, would we just, there'd be something we just don't do? You would not have to do anything with club root anymore.
Yeah, you guys kind of, I guess, give me some guideline. It's on the Agricultural Pest Act. I'm still a pest officer, so it's still inspect and enforce for the province. I legislatively obligated to conduct inspections. I don't have to do every piece of land. I could do one piece of land and satisfy those requirements.
need a mover. Bess?
I'll love it.
Bess moves it. Any other discussion? All in favor? Carried. Move on to page.
Mr. Chairman?
Oh, you're, whoa. One opposed. Thank you. Moving on, page 20,
Tree acquisition.
3.4.
The one thing I failed to put in here was how long we've been doing this. 2012, the PFRA shut down its program to offer free trees to producers. As of that date, the board and council made a point to try and acquire every year a tree farm that we can retrieve trees for our producers, the ratepayers. So every year we look at a tree acquisition policy and identify someone that we can work with, not just for producers, but for acreage owners and hamlet owners as well.
James, you make the motion.
I'll make a motion to move this forward, absolutely.
Ted, let's-
And just a question, are you typically using the same tree farm most years?
Yeah, most years. Depending on what you, the producer, is after. If you're looking for larger trees, a 6 foot, 10 foot, 15-foot tree, I will suggest or recommend other farms like Parkland Nurseries or Linden Tree Farm or A and B nurseries, depending on what it is you're after. Most people are after a sapling, a 1 to 2 foot sapling. So I use Tree Time for that. But if it's larger, then I go other places. Echo Gang Gardens for your, 3 foot up to, I think I've purchased 8 foot trees from Echo Glen before, depending on what it is you're after.
Okay. Good.
Is there a specific date that someone would need to have their orders in to participate in the shelter belt program?
Yeah, deadline's closed March 15.
Okay, perfect.
We open December 1 and we close March 15. We can still try. I just can't guarantee any kind of a group discount because I try and bulk the orders up in place March 15
Get a better price.
the second week of May. I still try and suggest people to, or I recommend people to go on and we look through trees to see if they still have stock in whatever it is you're after, but
Yep.
no guarantees on the group discount.
Delivery date again?
This year is May 9, if that's a
Delivery.
Tuesday.
It is Tuesday.
This year is May 9.
Coming up.
Good. Chief for information.
Motion is on the table currently, Chairman.
Almost stable, vote on it. All in favor, carry on. Sure. Page 23.
Okay, policy 3.5, wild boar control. Again, this is an annual policy. Since 2008, wild boar has been declared a pest if at large. And this kind of ties us in place with the current agreement with the province, a bounty of $75 for every pair of ears brought in. There's no actual cost to the county when I issue a check for $75 to whoever the province reimburses the county. So it's an in and out. Again, this is under the Agricultural Pest Act.
Any questions? Paul will move that as well. All in favor? Carried. Oh, we're going down to 8.5, Alberta Soil Conservation. 827.
So this is our soil conservation policy as per the provincial ASB field visit or field audit we had last summer. We didn't have a specific soil conservation policy. So this puts us in line with requirements set out by the ASB grant that we received from the province.
I was wondering if we shouldn't expand our policy a little bit so that we can issue notices to long-term leaseholders in addition to the landowner. We do have another number of proposals coming up that would be long-term leases on ag land, or as we learned, no longer ag land, depending on who's defining it. And I don't want there to be any confusion that one party wasn't aware. I understand why we notify the landowner. We have more enforcement options, but I would like to be able to notify both parties in those situations.
Craig, I got a question, just for
Clarification, notify or enforce notice?
When we issue notices for a soil conservation or conservating.
Send it to the leaseholder too.
Yeah, so if we identify an issue with soil conservation, can we issue the notice to both parties, or does it have to be one?
Just bringing this up so I can see. Sorry, Mr. Everett, what's your question?
So my question is, in a case of the club route, so I'm renting to whoever, Mr. Smith out there, and he's been farming my land. You go on the land and find club route. What's the protocol with that?
So the Agricultural Pest Act, you, the landowner, is issued the club route notice.
Because you don't know who rents it.
I don't know who rents it. And for the other portion of when I issue you the notice on that quarter section of land, the adjacent landowners, quarter sections that touch that quarter, are issued a letter saying that flood route was found in the area.
So does soil conservation affect the neighboring properties? Can, right?
It could if the water erosion or wind erosion is strong enough, or if the issue is close enough to the quarter section line where it would adversely affect the neighboring land, it could affect them.
So this is where I'm having, Mr. Chairman, I'm having the follow my thought pattern is that I like Mr. Stevens' thought on this. I'm just wondering if we need to expand it a little bit to let the neighbors know that there's an issue going on as well, right? I mean, to know that we know that you know kind of thing, right? I mean, that fact is, I'm next door neighbor to somebody who has been summer following forever, but doesn't really ever plant anything, and it blows into my, wind comes up, blows the dirt in there. I might complain to Quentin, or I might not. I just sit there and fume and be mad that nothing's being done, that effing county's not doing anything. And realistically, they are doing something, and we just can't tell them. But if we changed our policy, then we could tell them that we're doing something.
Yeah, because you're that covered, it's in there, and they work it up with a pro tail, it'll be to blow into my.
No, but what I'm saying on the soil conservation point of it, can we do that as well so that we can let the neighboring adjacent landowners know that, yes, we are in fact doing something? Under our current situation, I don't think we can.
Quentin, what do you hear?
I'm currently looking on regulations right now as you guys are speaking.
Yeah, if I can, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead.
So specifically to Board Member Stevens' question about landowner versus occupant, under the Soil Conservation Act, a landowner is defined as an occupant or, in the absence of an occupant, the landowner. So by using the term landowner being a defined term on the Soil Conservation Act, we do cover that we can and actually should firstly deal with the occupant.
So can I ask the question, would it make it simpler and clearer if we put it in our policy that we state that? Because what you just said to me sounds a little ambiguous, and I hate ambiguous stuff. It becomes that, well, maybe you should, maybe you shouldn't, shall, may, and must. If we put it into the policy that we will notify whoever the current occupant and landowner on this is a go forward, that's our policy. What?
Or even providing that definition at the top of the policy might
Yeah.
clear up some of this.
We could repeat the definition from the Soil Conservation Act would probably be the ideal way to go.
Okay. I want to make sure that, like I said, good policy makes good governance, and I agree with Mr. Stevens on this, that we should definitely tighten that policy up a little bit.
You got it, Quentin?
No.
Sorry, I don't. I was still looking here.
Still looking?
Based on provincial soil legislation, we add a definition section for the policy to declare landowner also future.
Oh, yeah. Yes.
Well, if it makes it easier for Quentin, I would make the motion that we pass the soil conservation policy
What do you bring?
with the amendment that we add the soil conservation definition of landowner / occupant to the policy.
So, Mr. Chairman, to that end, should we be adding the notification of adjacent landowners? Is that something, Andrew, that legally puts us offside?
It's something I would like to consider in a little bit more detail if we could have the time to do some research on that.
You know, you've been hanging out with lawyers, because you know what that sounded like? That sounded like, well, it depends.
It's a nuanced issue.
Yes, absolutely. So I would like us, I would be okay with passing this now and then bringing
Bring it
back.
back to the next meeting.
Because here's where I'm thinking, we've had a number of issues where we've had some of our ratepayers draining wetlands, draining and rerouting wetlands. I think down in your area, we've had a few, and in my area, and I think in Ernie's area So that whole notification of neighbors sometimes knowing what you're doing stops you from doing some stupid stuff.
I'm perfectly happy to have this brought back, but I'll let my motion stand as is.
Yeah, no, I think we push it.
So leave it as is, Quentin, but mark it down that you're gonna bring this one back.
Well, if you guys are okay with it, I have to present these at council to be approved as policy. So I could suggest the changes to council, or I can bring it back to the next Ag Source Board meeting,
I think
whichever
bring it
you.
back here, let's have that conversation and.
Sure. Bring it back to the next Ag Service Board meeting.
Yeah. And then we'll have it, move forward with this as
Well, we'll have
is.
all the information and you need to vote properly on it.
Well, I think, Mr. Chairman, I think we'll move forward with this now because we've got a couple of things go forward. Doesn't mean we can't change that policy later on. So I think we have a motion on the table to accept it with the definition, and I'm good to vote on that.
And to bring it back. to
And then, yeah, we'll have another
to the next
motion.
meeting, right?
Right.
Okay. Anybody else? All in favor?
Mr. Chairman, I'll give you a motion to bring back some research on notification on soil conservation policy, whatever the number is. 3.8, thank you.
Okay. All in favor?
Oh,
You got it.
Do we want to expand that slightly to include whether weed notice allowance is also under the same rules? Because we have received complaints from adjacent landowners. What are you doing? Well, the work is happening behind the scenes. Is that under the same?
well, I think weed notices already are, aren't they? Like if you gave me a weed notice, you have to notify the adjacent owners? No?
No, it's kind of the same theory. Yes, Quentin and the team is working on it, but whether or not all the neighbors know that we are working on it.
Yeah, it would likely be the consideration for the soil notice, or soil conservation notice, would likely be the same considerations for a weed notice. So we
Bring back more information.
simultaneously prepare that recommendation.
You're gonna bring back more information on it?
Past notices as well, I would include in that. He's always got 3 to deal with.
Fair enough.
Justin will make the motion on.
Already made the motion.
Already, yeah, so long ago, I didn't remember. All in favor? Great. Grazing road lawns. Page 30.
Alright, so I have a grazing right-of-ways policy. Sorry, you guys have a grazing right-of-way policy. This one is designed around drought. When grazing conditions aren't exactly ideal, we can open up our right-of-ways for producers to graze off the adjacent lands between their land and the road. That's the idea behind the grazing right-of-ways policies is about.
This is at the power of the CEO, right?
Or delegate, yep.
Okay. I'll give you the motion to pass this.
Because that's only on drought years, right? When?
It's when grazing, what is the actual, how does that work?
I've read that whole thing.
When grazing conditions are not optimal. It doesn't have to be an actual drought declared, but if the grazing conditions are not optimal,
Okay.
producers can be
James made the motion.
awarded or granted access to graze the right of way adjacent to their land.
No permanent fence. Okay, all in favor? Carried. Move on to 33. Council made meeting. You got nothing in May, Quentin?
Well, that's kind of the kickoff to our busy season. We're doing a lot of training, so I'm looking to cancel the May meeting just so I can get staff on the ground and get them going.
I'll give you the motion to cancel the May meeting.
Discussion? All in favor? Carried. Are you opposed? You're opposed?
Yeah, I'm good with it.
All right. I think I know I should. Battle River Research.
Got just in the nick of time too.
Nick of the time saves a dime, eh? Oh, he done time. You ready, Cleo? I'll just wait till you want a break or you're all right? Everybody all right?
Just looking for a
Go ahead, Cleo, come up to the mic, make sure it's turned on.
No,
Wait till Les comes back.
we could probably do an introduction to Les gets back.
Ken, I guess we leave Les out, but anyhow. Okay. Your name, sir?
Hi, good morning, everyone. My name is Khalil. I am manager with Better River Research Group. I've been with them since August 2018.
Nikki? Yeah.
Nikki
Who are-
Thorstensen, Director of Communications. Sorry.
Joe McCullough today, and operations.
Oh, McKay, board member.
Dave Grover, Chair.
Justin Stevens, good morning.
James Nyberg, board member. Les will poke his head in and introduce himself.
Les Gilbert, board member.
Quentin Beaumont, Manager of Agriculture Operations. Good morning.
Michelle Hoover, Legislative Assistant.
Thanks a lot for giving us this opportunity to present our research and extension updates. Thank you. Really appreciate it for your time. Unfortunately, our chairman, Don Croach, he also got a council meeting at Flagstaff County, so that's why he's not able to join me today. So I'm going to talk about, first of all, the history. Actually, we are in the business since 1985. Before Better River Research Group, there were two groups in the area, Better River Forage Association and Better River Crop Association at that time. So in 1993, they amalgamate and they make a one organization, and the name, they give it a new name, Better River Research Group. So we are serving East Central Alberta, covering 5 counties, Penrith, Stettler, Kamloops, Beaver, and Flagstaff. So this is our board. In 2022, we had 11 board members, 4 of them from the counties. Don, he's our president, but he's also representing Flagstaff County. Sten Schumacher, he's also a lead with Penrith County, and Dave Grover, he's from Stettler County, and Dale Peterson, he's representing Beaver County. So we had an AGM in Stettler this year. So we got 5 new board members. They just joined us in March. So got a very diverse board with different expertise and background. Helped me to run my organization very well. So every year we hire about anywhere between 5 to 7 summer students. Nasima, she just hired by Alberta Wheat and Barley Commission in November as a research manager, so she's no more with us. Alexander Olson, we promoted him as a research coordinator, so he's going to cover Nasima's role. And we hired Kabir a couple of months ago, so he's kind of covering Alexander's role. We're also thinking about adding another full-time employee into our team. So every year we try to hire local kids from the farm. So because they are our future. So when they're going to have some research background, they're going to implement those things on the farm. So it's good to have those trained people in the local community. And we also own a yard and a shop, offices, and we also have a bunch of research equipments. We have 2 tractors, small combine. We also built our own custom-made spray truck, having a rate controller on it. We also have a combine, mowers, and all small plot research equipments as well. You can look into this graph that our business has been grown substantially in like last year we had over 58 different trials. So we are working on a variety of projects, grain, oilseeds, cover crops, forages, on-farm research, KTT transfer knowledge as well, provincial projects like pest monitoring. We are also part of health research project. So we are partnering with 11 different organizations in the province as well.
Well, does any of the research, any of them do grazing projects?
Not yet. We are getting into it. I was in Leduc on Monday. We had a meeting with ARDA. So they are asking us to do some kind of practical on-farm research. So maybe in future we're going to decrease a bit our workload on small plot research, and we're going to go and work with the farmers as the grazing part and those practical stuff. Yeah. Almost, yeah. We are getting into it.
In your pest control, what is the project you're doing there?
Mostly we put those traps in canola field, and they ask us to do some pea leaf weevil survey. So which is coming through Alberta agriculture. So whenever they ask us to do some survey, even Ag Canada, so we always help them out because we wanted to make sure that our area is included in their projects as well. Sometimes even we do it for free. We don't charge them anything.
Yeah.
But being included in those projects is very important.
Thank you.
Welcome. So last year we had 8 different sites. We seeded over 2,500 plots. This is the aerial site. You can see those, the aerial view of our plots. So every year we also part of regional variety testing program, which is led by Alberta Pulse growers. So every year we seed about over 100 different pulses varieties: faba bean, yellow peas, green peas, lentils, and soya bean. We also seed over 50 varieties of silages as well in our program, and all this data from our region included in Alberta Seed Guide. And we also do some of extension activities around those plots as well. So this is one of the projects I'm really interested to talk about. Basically, in the province, we don't have any data regarding hemp as a forage crop. So we drafted this proposal. We talked to CFI. Even they ask us, yeah, it's very good to do it because they also don't have any data. So we seeded 3 different hemp varieties. One for fiber purpose, another one for dual purpose, and the second one only for seed. So what we find out, hemp has a high potential as a feed. It's quite comparable with alfalfa, even hay, because we are more into value addition, looking for a new crop into our rotation. And they're also building a new decortation facilities in Lamont and even up north. So maybe in future it's going to be because especially when they cut the heads and they have a lot of fiber and the forage left, they just throw it in the ground. So it's better to use it in future as a forage.
So was there not something in Leduc County too that they were doing? A few years ago we did the ag tour in Red Deer, and they were talking about that there was some plant going in Leduc County. It was fiber or something.
They're making clothes up.
It was within the last 6 years. I don't know, when did we do that Olds tour, right? It's gotta be about 6 years ago. This is probably the last one we did.
Pretty close to that, yeah.
I just wondered if it ever got off the ground. I never followed up on.
Lamont for sure. I think Lamont, they are planning to put a plant there. Yeah, I'm not sure about Leduc. And this is another project. We are partnering with 4 different organizations in the province, trying to cover different climatic and soil zones, especially in West Lock area. In our area, actinomycetes is a big problem in peas. So we are testing 4 different soil amendments: wood ash, egg lime, biochar, and beetroot lime, to see is if those soil amendments, they're going to increase soil pH, because most of our soils, they are acidic in nature, which is kind of a favorable environment for diseases. So with the application of those soil amendments, if we are able to increase soil pH a little bit, so the disease infestation might decrease. So we have seen substantial change. Even you can see in soil pH, like at the Berg location, where we did not apply anything, the soil pH was 4.6, and where we apply beetroot sludge, pH increased about 1 unit. So it has a potential, especially at Berg and Kera location in Owen. It's a very fantastic project, so we are looking into it. We're going to run it for 1 more year as well. So first year we seeded peas, and the second year we seeded wheat, and this year we're going to seed canola on top of it.
Where do you get your beetroot sludge from?
Actually, it's a kind of a product from Tabor, because sugar beet producers, when they send out those sugar beet to the mill, so it's a leftover product. So they have tons of product just sitting on the ground.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what does it look like? What is it? Is it?
The powder form completely.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Maybe in future we're going to have an issue how we can apply it at a bigger scale. We have to find something, make some kind of a granular or something. So put it in a tanks. We can do it in future. But as a powder, like it worked out pretty good.
When
Is there any research thought about with salinity as well with these kind of projects, if you're trying to reduce salinity?
For salinity, maybe we can use gypsum, because those type of things, because they're going to increase the pH, and especially with the salinity, your pH is already alkaline. So gypsum is a good idea, especially in our area where we have some spots like the marginal land and the low spots. Yeah, we can use gypsum to deal with the salinity. So this is the variety of projects. You have seen the aerial view before. So we have annual silages. We also do some industry trials as well, which is funded by different chem companies. We also have some trials with Himalite and biostimulants. We are partnering with the University of Alberta, Lethbridge College, Olds College as well. With this biostimulant project, we are testing different biostimulant. Farming Smarter, they have a site down in Lethbridge. We have a site. Sarda up north in the Peace Country, they also have a site as well. And last year we did some demonstration plots with Kentera seeds. They gave us some seed and we test those varieties in our area. Alberta Wheat and Barley Commission, they also funded us some projects, so we did some demonstration as well. Perennial cereals, we are seeding some fall rye, perennial wheat, and some legumes into it. So we are partnering with 7 different organizations. Peace Country Beef, they are taking a lead on it. Kera, Grow, and Burr, we are working together with them. And the soil infiltration trial, where we are seeding some cover crops, and we're going to look into soil health and the crop rotation as well. And Pera and Benning, they are taking a lead, and they have a site there, Grow have a site, and we have a site over here. We tested some perennial forages 3 years in a row, and last year, 2022 was the last year, and that project is finished, and all those data are available online on our webpage and even in our annual report. You can see on top of it this hill. So 2 years ago it was quite dry. So we drafted a proposal and we are partnered with Premium Egg. So we seeded 9 different wheat varieties on top of the hill and even on the slope and even on the foothills. So we wanted to look into it, but like which variety is doing very well according to different elevations. So we had a site over here in central East Alberta, and Premium Egg, they had a site in Strathmore. So basically our work includes 70% research, about 25% extension, and about 5% EFP and environment work. So this is a variety of webinars and events we do. Last year we had a very good field day. We invited Gran Lastuka. He talked about soil health and forages. Last year we had also plots in Stettler County. We seeded some plots over there. We invited Barry Yarencio. He talked about the feed and the nutrition and when is a good time to harvest those silages. Every year, University of Alberta, they send out their class so we can teach them how we are seeding our plots, how we spray them, and how we combine them. It was started 2 years ago, and they are also coming this year as well. Dr. Linda, she always bring all her class basically to show them how we do applied research in the field. And last year we published 4 articles in Top Crop magazine, and we also did some research on wild oats, and we also had a field day on corn, and our elected officials, our MPs and our MLA, they also come to our events as well. Like Damien Crook, he was also at our field day. Jackie Lovely, she also came to our board meeting as well. Last month we had a very good successful AGM in Stettler. We had a bunch of speakers. Fiona, she came from ARDA. She talked about off-case program for producers. Areka, Ellen Hall, he talked about those programs which is offered by Areka in the province. We had Ted Nieberg. Actually, since Egg Info Center was shut down, I got over 55 phone calls all over the province. They were asking about all the numbers. Because of this inflation, they were asking about rental rates and silage rates and all those things. So I thought it's better to bring Ted to talk about those, the values with the producers. So we had about 70 people came to our event. It was very good. We also had a Barry Yarencio over there. He talked about feed quality as well. So for this year, we also invited Greg Judy. He's a very well-known rancher down in the States. He's going to come to our area. So we are partnering with Chinook Applied Research Association down in Owen. Because first of all, it's good to have a collaboration, and bring him is very costly. So it's good to share some cost. So he's going to come and talk about his ranch, how he is managing his ranch down there. So we are planning on spending at least half a day in the field and half a day in the classroom. And we are planning on having some crop walks in June, July, and August. Our field is scheduled on June 26th. So we're going to have 2 demonstration plots funded by Alberta Wheat and Barley Commission on wheat midge and on Physium head blight. We are also organizing a training for University of Alberta as well, and we are looking into our future projects. So we are already drafting some proposals. We already submitted it for future funding, partnering with different universities and colleges. And we just bought our auto steer and GPS. So we are going to be a third group in the province after Farming Sumatra and Sarda, seeding our plots with GPS. We already bought our camera and drone. So we're going to take some, we're going to use those things for our extension events as well. We are also running off-CAFE in a living lab program in the province, EFP in mental health, which is funded by ARDA and Areka. And and those are the government-funded programs. So 2 months ago, we spent 2 days on our strategic planning because when the government, when we ask for more money, they always come, hey, do you have any plans? Either you're just asking for our money. So we spent 2 days to develop our strategic plan, which is about over 20 pages. We got a very good consultant. He helped us out. So we put all our everything on a 1 page. So we are trying to do actually, to be honest with you, we are already doing a good work. Our name is out there, but we are interested to grow our business. We already have partnerships with post-secondary institutions like University of Alberta, colleges and universities. We are working with different sister associations in the province. So this is our 1 page strategic plan, and I'll email it to you. And when we are looking into our economic impact, past 2-3 years, like in 2020, our budget was 400,000, and year after we hit 500,000. Last year 678, so we almost crossed $500,000. So when we are looking into our economic impact, we are supporting rural economy. We hire 3 full-time, 5 to 7 summer students. We are trying to help hire people from our local community. Our taxes, our business, everything we are spending, we have a rural spending. We are also collaborating with governments, ASBs, crop commissions, watershed groups, post-secondary institutions in the industry. So we are the bridge, we are bringing those people to our area. We are also providing services like, attending those phone calls, running those provincial and federal programs in our area. And we are also doing demonstration. So to quantify those things is pretty hard. So when we approach RDR to increase our funding, before making any decision, they hire Seracon. They ask them to do economic impact of 12 different applied associations in the province. And so they did our interview, they talked to the producers, and this is they come up with. They said, when you're going to apply $31 in applied research, when you're going to apply $1, you're going to get $31 back. Even in extension, when you're going to spend $1, your output is $34. So our impact is right there. But in agriculture, like it's not like auto industry and like some other industries, it's not a tech industry. It takes a bit time, maybe 10-15 years. So this is the economic impact we have. Another study I found out, which is funded by Agriculture Institute of Canada, and they said our investment in applied research is 139%, and extension is about 72%. So our impact is right there. And thanks a lot for your support.
We got a couple of questions for you. Are you looking for more projects?
Yes.
Okay. You'd like them to come with sponsorship money, I'm sure. There's an interesting product that I've come across recently that they're using wool for soil mitigation, wool pellets. And there's a number of guys in our province that are building these wool pellets, but they're having a hard time finding out they're very unsophisticated in the fact they just don't have the research backing behind them. But I also know our Canadian co-op wool growers may have some research money available. So you and I should maybe get together, have a conversation. The other one I have for you too is there any research being done on hops production in Alberta right now? Okay. And you guys don't have anything, any of your other partners, the other ARTA partners or not?
I can look around and I'll get back to you.
Yeah, I just, I've seen that there's some stuff that people are quite, with the small breweries that are out there, they're really looking for local hops. So I think that would be a big one.
Feel like there's a hops producer in the Ponoka area.
Yeah, and I just wondered if there's some opportunity for us to do that here in this county. So, but again, people aren't getting into it if they don't know the benefit or any.
How they do it?
Yeah.
Like wheat or barley, I really do. I think it's like a grass.
Well, no, you have to have those big poles in the nets, and it grows like 20 feet tall. It's huge. From what I've seen, I don't know. I'm not an expert on it at all. All I know is that talking to quite a few of the microbreweries, their biggest request when I talk to them about where they get their malt, because of course we talk about Alex, and then they said we would wish we could do a better job of getting local hop. I said, oh, that's interesting. I just more for my information than anything.
Questions? recess for dinner. You're good, Cleo? Okay.
Thank you.
Thanks, good presentation, Cleo.
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
we only have a few more, do we not? 2 items. We want to do up those 2 items, we could probably finish up and then be done.
Yeah, we could do. Cleo, would you mind staying around or have dinner with us? We're gonna clean, if you guys want to, I don't care what we do. We're up to date financials for 2023 financials.
Mr. Chairman, I reviewed them, I have no issues with them, so.
Clinton, you got it? Clinton, you got anything? No? Good? Looks good to you, everybody? Else? You're moving them?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, carry on. All in favor? Perfect. Information items, don't have any. Committees, that's old. We don't have any.
Brenda Knight's Egg Service Ready Committee report.
I'm just reading it now.
Go ahead, Jay.
I did just one question for Quentin on Brenda's report with the ASB. I said each ASB will receive approximately $165,000 additional this year. So is that already been received or is that yet to come?
No, we don't typically receive that until, that's a Krista question. I think that's like a September, June or September, I think is when that comes out. I have to ask Krista.
Fall.
Okay, no worries. It just, I was just wondering if we had to.
No, that's usually later on.
Okay, good. And, I thought it was a good report, and if there's, nobody else has any more questions, I would receive it for information.
Excellent. All in favor? Carried. You go down, seminars, invitations to be announced.
Did you want anything on the invitations that we already discussed?
Do you want anything on them? Or just want to know it's
They've got to be individually marked. I just wondered if there was anything you needed for them. Okay.
More of an FYI for you guys.
Oh, you're gonna move?
Yeah, if we need to.
All in favor? Carried. Adjournment.
Next meeting is June 28th, and I will give you a motion to adjourn, Mr. Chairman.
All in favor? Carried.